Boss man, the apron's a perfect fit.
What are you doing here?
Where else am I gonna work? He hired me to make meat buns. I can't just sell off my family heirlooms like that, you dumbass.
For those of you who may not be familiar with the show Sakamoto Days, it is a manga and anime series about a retired assassin who must protect his family from his former enemies. In the show, it follows Taro Sakamoto, who gives up his ways of being an assassin in order to raise his family. However, his past does catch up to him, and each episode is essentially about him trying to fight off a different assassin who wants to kill him for basically prize money. The show itself is pretty funny, lighthearted, and it's a cute show. In the spirit of this video, I will be focusing on Lu Xiaotang. Lu is like this sprightly young woman who is mastered in Tai Chi, and she wears this very pretty jacket, kind of like a bomber jacket, and it's like pink, and it has these white sleeves, and it has this little pink emblem on one of the sleeves, which, as I was looking at the design of her jacket, I was kind of wondering how I was going to be able to recreate said emblem. I couldn't really find like any sort of like grids or patterns that kind of matched the symbol, so I figured I would recreate it on Stitch Fiddle. Hi everyone! As you can tell by the title, I am going to be doing a recreation video. In this video, I will be recreating Lu Xiaotang's jacket from Sakamoto Days. This is the first time that I will be doing something like this, so I'm very excited but also kind of nervous. The inspiration behind this video was Iko Shun's recreation series, where she recreates different pieces from anime, film, TV, and I wanted to basically, you know, take on the same challenge. And the reason why I chose to do Lu's jacket is because I figured it would be pretty simple. I've made cardigans before, and I feel like the structure of a cardigan is kind of similar to that of a jacket. So with all that out the way, I'm gonna get started. And yeah, I'm going to be showing off the yarn that I'm going to be using for this project. All of this yarn that I got from Joanne. So Lu's jacket is has like a pink base with white sleeves and a gray collar. So I'm going to be using this Pound of Love yarn in the shade pastel pink. It was kind of tough trying to figure out like what pink I needed, because on Lu's jacket, like the pink is kind of like a mauve type of pink, like a purplish pinkish type of pink. So when I was at the store, it was kind of difficult trying to find like a pink that matches, but I feel like this one kind of matches the best out of all the ones that I saw. And then I have this white yarn that I'm going to be using for the sleeves, and then I got this sugar and cream gray yarn for the collar and also for like the ribbing, and yeah, so. And then I also have a pink zipper that I'm going to attempt to attach to the jacket. I've tried using zippers before in my crochet projects, and they've been pretty hit or miss. Also, like the zipper that I got, it doesn't like open all the way, so I'm kind of debating if I even want to use it. Or I might just use like this black zipper that I have that does open all the way. It just won't be accurate to Lu's jacket, but I'll make that decision when the jacket is actually finished. Before I could get started on working on the actual jacket, I decided to measure my body, and for the width, I decided on 16 inches. For the length, I decided on 21 inches. I say 21 because even though this is more of an oversized jacket, if you look at how it fits on Lu, I think it kind of stops like where her hips are. And so my actual measurement was 23, but I decided to round down to about 21. For the sleeves, I decided on doing the base of the sleeve to be 16 inches, and then I'm sure the ribbing is going to add on a couple of extra inches. So in total, I'm guesstimating it to be around 19 inches. Once I got my measurements figured out, I got started with working on the back panels and the two front panels. For each of the panels, I did a chain of 70, and For the back panel, I did a total of 40 rows. For the front panels, I basically just divided the back panel rows in half, and so I did about 18 rows for the front panels, mainly because I didn't want it to be too big. And while working on these panels, I decided to work vertically instead of working the rows horizontally, so that it could not have such a bulky look to it. Once I started working on the front panels, once I got around to row 14, I decided to work in the back loop only from one row to give it the ripped effect that Lou's jacket has, where the zipper attaches. And I did about 3 rows after that. So in total, I did 18 rows for each front panel, and I did 40 rows for the back panel. I spent the next 2 days working on the panels. I did have to restart a couple of times because I either made the panels way too big or I just didn't do the right measurements, but eventually I got it figured out. The next thing that I started working on was the ribbing. I decided to make the ribbing first for the collar and for the bottom of the jacket, mainly because with the way that the panels are laid out, I figured it would be a lot easier if I just did the ribbing and then attached it to all the panels so that it could join in the way that I wanted it to, instead of it kind of joining in a weird way. Once I was finished working on the ribbing for the collar and the body of the jacket, I immediately got started with working on the sleeves. For the sleeves, I did a chain of 60, which was enough to fit around my bicep and also big enough to have more of a baggier fit. And then I immediately just got started crocheting in the round, doing half double crochets. And then once I got enough rows to where I could start the graph, I started on the graph that I made using Stitch Fiddle, and after the graph was complete, I continued making rows until the sleeve was big enough to cover my whole arm. I just got finished with the first sleeve design, and as I'm looking at it, I was kind of thinking, like, wouldn't this be kind of cute for like a cat beanie design? This might be something that I'll consider, or I might just consider like doing more like tapestry crochet for like beanies and stuff, because this actually wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. I made the graph using Stitch Fiddle, and even though it doesn't really look exactly like the emblem on her sleeve, I feel like it looks, you know, close enough. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep on working on the sleeve. And yeah, after finishing both sleeves, putting together all the panels, and finally weaving in all my ends, the jacket was basically complete. Today I present to you the final reveal of the jacket. I'm going to have a full body video going on the side. Before I get into what I don't like about the jacket, I am going to give myself props for doing this in the first place. This is something that I completely freehanded. I didn't even follow like a guide or anything. I just went off of knowledge that I already had about making something like this and created my own graph and everything. And even though it's not perfect and the fit isn't what I want it to be, I'm still very much proud of myself. I still think it came out cute. So yeah, just to put that disclaimer out there. On top of that, like, the process for this was very long and tedious. Like, I'm honestly glad that I stuck through with it, because there were many points where I just wanted to say screw it and just give up, especially when I got to the sleeves. With all that said, the reason why I am not in love with this jacket is because I didn't really plan it out the way that I should have. For one, the fit isn't that great. Like, around the sleeves, because I crocheted in the round and I attached the sleeves like around, you know what I mean, like the seam, it has like a weird fit to it. And then also, like, even with the collar, originally the collar was going to stand up and be more like this because that's how Lou's jacket looks. but then I decided to fold over the collar so that it could have like this sort of look to it, which I feel like made it a little bit more better. However, yeah, it just could be better. Number two, the front of the jacket, like I made this jacket into like, I'll just say like 3 different sections. I did the front panels, the back panel, and then the sleeves. For the front panels, honestly, I should have just planned it out a lot better, because the front panels, like, they barely go over my chest, and so I kind of have to like pull the panels together just so that it looks like a jacket, and then I just should have planned it out better. I know I keep saying that, but that's really the biggest flaw of this whole thing. Even the back, like, you'll see in the video, but the back isn't that perfect either. I just didn't do enough rows, and yeah, I'm just not super satisfied with how this came out. Even just down to like the ribbing for the bottom. Yeah, it's just not, it's not my best work, but besides all of that, like, again, I am still proud of how it came out. I still think that it did come out, you know, relatively accurate to Lou's jacket. I would say the only thing I probably got wrong was maybe like the colors, because it was pretty hard trying to find yarn that matched the colors anyway, and I was very limited when it came to like materials and, you know, all that. So if I was to recreate this jacket, I definitely would have planned it out a little bit better. I probably would have gotten a bulkier type of yarn, because I feel like using weight for yarn doesn't really give it like the oversized bomber jacket effect that I wanted. And yeah, also I did plan on adding a zipper to this design, and I even created like a little, like, can't really see it on camera, but I created like a little indent here to where I wanted to separate where like the jacket stops and like the part for the zipper begins. But then as I was looking at it, I realized that the zipper that I had originally bought was not going to work because it doesn't open all the way. Number two, that same zipper wasn't even going to be long enough for this piece, and I was getting to a point where I was starting to become pretty discouraged by the jacket anyway, so I was just like, I'm not gonna do that. But overall, it took me, I want to say about a week, or maybe over a week, to get this done. I did have to take a lot of breaks in between because my fingers would start to cramp up, and I think I'm getting to that point where I'm gonna have to take more breaks, because I used to be able to like crochet for a very long time without needing to take a break, but since I technically do this every day, you know, it's my hobby, and I want to turn this into a potential career for myself, so I'm gonna have to, you know, do some long-term self-care in order to, you know, stay on top of my game. But yeah, this marks the end of the video. If you've made it all the way to this point, thank you. And I don't know if I'm gonna do another one type these videos. I mean, like, maybe if inspiration strikes, but yeah, regardless, this was a fun challenge. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.